Okay, we're about to start, so try to get a seat. You can. It's hard to compete with food, but we're going to try to get started here. If there's not enough chairs, there are some extras over here that you should feel free to grab and kind of find a nice, convenient place to put it. Quick announcement, and then we're going. If you are parked in the woodwork or whatever that store is, parking lot, one of those spaces, you can't really do that. But we can use the Nob Hill parking lot just right next door. So please, if you're one of those people that's parked in one of those spots, please move your car. Okay, and there's a gate in the fence. You can come right directly here.
Bottom is the fry pan.
Thank you. You can tell who the musicians are. Little tricks of the trade. Good afternoon. My name is Jim Burns, and I am beyond honored to have been asked to MC this celebration of Tom Litsky's wonderful life. Yes, Tom was a dear, dear friend, but truth be told, everyone here felt more or less the same way about him. How could you not? Whether you knew Tom for many years or just a few minutes, you realized you had met someone special with a special gift or connection. With his inviting smile, twinkling eyes, and caring nature, he made everyone he touched feel better, way better. Like so many of you, I met Tom through music, in my case through Ron Wilson's ukulele orchestra. Tom was our drummer extraordinaire, and he was a delight to practice with, perform with, and just hang with. Tom left that group and a bunch of others he was drumming for years ago, so that he and his amazing wife, Roxanne, where are you? Could take a long road trip around the U.S. But when they returned, Tom didn't miss a beat. Sorry. Rejoining or sitting in with a number of local bands. Upon his return, my wife Nancy and I behaved almost like Tom groupies. We went to see him play with so many fellow musicians, including so many of you. One of our personal favorites with Tom, jazz, swinged away. I realized my video focus that night had slowly shifted from Willow to Tom during her performance. That's because those blue eyes of his were smiling during every single word Willow sang. It was a brief moment, yes. But to me, it said so much about Tom's incredibly generous spirit. In the worst of the COVID years that followed that night, Tom, our good friend Dave Posner, and I resorted to Zoom calls, desperate to stay connected. Well, the three of us laughingly branded each of those virtual get-togethers a gentleman's tea. Dave and I always knew who the real gentleman was. That's because Tom, always battling his own latest health challenge, made it a top priority during each and every one of those calls to ask Dave and me how we were doing. I'm sure you all have your own Tom moments, both big and small, and the first half of today's program will feature 5 speakers, family and friends, who surely do. I can't wait to hear their personal remembrances coming up next. Given how each one of us feels about today's honoree, we don't think there's enough time before midnight for an open mic. But Roxanne hopes you can all share your own personal Tom stories with each other today and after today. Speaking of Roxanne, I'm not sure I ever spoke with Tom when he didn't mention how grateful he was for all that his wife, his life partner for almost 36 years, had done for him. It brings to mind one of Tom's favorite expressions. Gratitude unlocks the fullness of life and turns what we have into enough and more. Roxanne, please know how grateful we are for today's tribute to your husband. Not surprisingly, this celebration's second half will include music. It's what Tom would have wanted. So special thanks also go to Jerry Whitney and all of the performers who will play later today. Roxanne also wanted to make sure that I extend her deepest appreciation to Andy Furman, who did this amazing Tom slideshow, and who will also perform, to Linda, Tommy, Sherry, and many others who helped with food, to Liza and the decoration crew, to John, who worked his sound magic, to Gertie and the facility people, too many people, Tom, who's doing a Facebook Live thing right now, and to many others whose name I've unfortunately missed. Moments, sweet and sad, with smiles and sometimes tears, with friendships formed and good times shared, and laughter through the years. A life well lived is a legacy of joy and pride and pleasure. A living, lasting memory our grateful hearts will treasure. Tom, thank you for the kindness, optimism, and warmth you so graciously shared with each and every one of us, and for a life very well lived. And now on to our first featured speaker. Amy, are you here? There. Amy Lambert. Come on up. Amy Lambert is Tom's youngest sister, and she was also the bass guitar player in their Family Times band, which consisted of 4 of the 6 Litsky siblings, Tom, Don, Jen, and Amy. From what I hear, Amy quickly and efficiently learned to play the bass just because the band needed one.
And I could have used the money.
Growing up together, Tom was especially proud of Amy and referred to her as Amy the Brain. No pressure, Amy, you're up next.
Okay, this is going to be harder than I thought. But sincerely want to thank all of you for coming here today to celebrate Tom's life. It really means a lot to all of us in the family. Unrealistically, I never thought this day would come. He cheated death so many times. The first time being many, many years ago when he was out driving on a rainy day in Florida in a little sports car he had at the time. He saw a red light, or light turning red, and knew he was not going to be able to stop. to the artist, to the nature lover, to the fun-loving, devoted family man, to the successful businessman who was later rewired once he quit doing that. He was one of the nicest and most sincere people you could ever hope to meet. I mean, how could anyone not instantly connect with him with that warm smile and those sparkling blue eyes, right? Similar to what Jim said. But most of you already know that he was a remarkable man of many talents, and that he'll be greatly missed by anyone who was fortunate enough to ever come in contact with him. There's no way I could share all there is to share about him in just a few minutes, but I thought I could share a Cliff Notes version of some of my fondest memories of him. Things I'll always remember about Tom are that he treated everyone with the same respect, no matter what their walk of life, from the business executive to the server at the restaurant. He always had a knack for finding the positive in any situation. He was forever the drummer, always tapping on something as if he were keeping beat to his life. He was also a doodler. One drawing I remember in particular may be the first light ski logo ever created. It was a cartoon-type drawing of a light bulb skiing downhill. Always a creative one. It was a depiction of our last name, Light Ski. I remember when he was in high school, spinning around in his swivel chair, staring at the ceiling and fretting about his homework. He could walk on his hands for pretty impressive distances, and at a good pace, too. He once gave mouth-to-mouth resuscitation and CPR to his Yorkshire Terrier. I mean, who does that? Once when he was visiting us, we mentioned that we had just been to Disneyland. This was when my kids were pretty little, and that we had Mickey Mouse-shaped pancakes with our kids for breakfast there. His eyes instantly lit up, and he was soon making pancakes in the shapes of cars, trains, airplanes, pretty much anything you can think of, and of course, loving every minute of it. Now, this is one of the funniest stories I can remember. I was actually a little too young to remember this one in person, but it's an infamous story throughout my family. One day, Tom and her brother Don decided to have a rope tying contest to see how long it would take each of them to get themselves untied. Well, Don went first and tied up Tom, who was able to free himself after just a couple of minutes. And Tom was about 3 or 4 years older than Don, by the way. So then it was Tom's turn. He tied Don up and hung him upside down, the rope being attached to the rafters in our back shed. Don hung there for a while. Then Tom decided to go in the house and watch cartoons. Half an hour later, he came out to see how Don was doing. Well, he was still hanging there, yelling and screaming. I guess Tom figured he had enough, so he finally untied him. He and Roxanne came to visit us at our new house in Washington. Tom was still recovering from one of his many bouts with cancer, so he was pretty weak. And I mentioned to him that we wanted to have our last name painted in this large rock we have out near the street and by our driveway. Well, Tom was immediately on a mission. He grabbed his iPad and got to work creating the template. He measured the rock carefully, took several hours of tinkering on his iPad, and we finally had the perfect design. Off to the UPS store we went to have that template printed out, off to the hardware store to get all the painting supplies, and I'll never forget how happy he looked out there standing there painting that rock. Well, Roxanne and I and Fritz watched and supervised. But I'm so grateful that we were able to have them do it, because I have that constant reminder of Tom every time we pull into every time we pull into our driveway, especially that he's no longer with us in body. I will miss you dearly, Tom, but I'm forever inspired by you. And in closing, I just want to pass some of his best advice that he often gave to my daughter. If you're having a bad day, just look forward to the next good one. God bless you all.
And may jump in. It's certainly an honor here to celebrate the life of Tom Lightsky. As Jim mentioned, Roxanne asked me to represent his circles of friends who met him through work. Can you hear me okay? No. Well, there are thousands of people that Tom worked with. It's my good fortune that I collaborated with 3 of his closest friends who shared that friendship with Tom. Anne, who was with me, Warren Kochman, and Michelle Bernard. I'll be using their words as part of this tribute, and Roxanne, I've included their letters that they gave me so you can read and cherish them. Manager, peer, employee, it didn't matter what your working relationship was with Tom, his impact and influence on you was the same. Common words that describe the work Tom, not the music Tom: professional, integrity, solid, calm, positive, dependable, knowledgeable. Normal types of things you hear about somebody from a professional world. But the other things that you heard were cared about people, respect of people, and of people of different cultures, spiritual. I think these are the terms that I think are what makes SGI and myself and Ann as well. The first day that he spent with Tom, he knew that Tom was a real professional, but more importantly, a person who really cared about people. I never viewed Tom as working for me, but always with me. We were peers in every sense of the word. Warren recruited Tom to 2 other companies to continue their successful formula of working together. Warren also said, I spent a career with all types of people, and I've been lucky to encounter a few that were remarkable humanitarians that made a difference in the world. Tom was perhaps one of the best examples. For Anne, she said Tom always made her feel that he truly cared about her and their friendship. She could always depend on Tom to be honest with her. She said many people today are only concerned about talking about themselves. Tom always asked about her, her family, and genuinely cared and listened. For Michelle, he retired from the business world in 2009. He had a visit with Tom and Roxanne here in Santa Cruz. He embarked on a very different journey as he started preparing to serve the Roman Catholic Church. He was extremely honored to have them and happy that in late June 2013, Roxanne and Tom attended his ordination as a priest. He said it was such a treat to have them there with him on that occasion. Their presence was the one that he counted the most for him, beyond the presence of his other friends and family. Tom had become a true friend. Said,
Not sure how to even pronounce this, what this next person's name is. I had it down as Dave Fletcher. He told me earlier that it might be Dave Fleisler, but then he said he looked it up on Ancestry.com and it's Dave something else. So let's just call him Dave. Where we are. Tom was first diagnosed with cholangiocarcinoma 16 years ago. It is more commonly known as bile duct cancer, and at the time of Tom's diagnosis, the survival rate was maybe as much as a few years, or maybe as little as a few months. So we all are, while we're sad about Tom not being here, we're also blessed to have had him for this long.
I had to travel here from the East Coast to share the impact he had on so many, whether in good times or bad. My connection to Tom started through our daughter, Sarah, a fellow cholangiocarcinoma warrior. Sarah and Tom and a number of others across the country and beyond bonded together as they fought their own fight with this dreaded disease. They respected one another and the way they approached their personal situations. Tom continued to maintain a positive, thankful outlook on his life and for those who also faced the same difficulties. 2 years ago at this time, I was on a 6-week, 15,000-mile journey of hope road trip up, down, and across the contiguous United States. The fact that the one along Steamer Lane was right down the street wasn't lost on me. Tom, Roxanne, and I spent time together enjoying the moment. The connection I felt went way beyond cholangio. We loved our families, the ocean, lighthouses, and yes, even playing drums in a band. Although for me, the band name Hallucination was a long time ago. And my drums were psychedelic ready. But as I was thinking about being here this evening, I wondered, what's it take to be a great drummer? When searching the topic, I found the following 8 skills. 1, persistence, the key to all things. 2, patience. Be patient in your practice and put good effort into everything you do. 3, passion. It will drive you to keep going. 4, capitalize on constructive criticism. 5, feel. It's all about the sense of timing and how you manipulate the beat and time of a piece. 6, adaptability. If you can learn to be flexible and adaptable in your drumming, you'll be better suited to tackle any challenge that comes your way. I see a pattern here. 7, timekeeping. One of the drummer's main responsibilities in a band is to keep time. A great drummer keeps track of and measures time. Comments about how Tom impacted them. So following are a few examples. As you hear them, I believe all the skills I just mentioned will resonate. The first one. Speaking for myself, I imagine there would be nothing else greater to honor Tom's effort than to do as Tom did. To rise above our best, and let that be good enough. To rise above your best creates the light and the inspiration for those who follow. So do Tom a huge honor and take him along for the ride as you rise above your best. Other things that were written about Tom? Tom had that way about him, didn't he? Another one from Dawn Vanna and her husband, Brandon, who are here tonight. I met Tom last year when he was assigned as my mentor following my diagnosis. I was blessed to live about 30 minutes from him and to be receiving acupuncture less than 10 minutes from his home. We connected on the phone and via text, but being so close, we had the opportunity to connect in person as well. Some of the things he said to me carried me through the toughest day. I admired Tom for his fortitude in dealing with this cancer for so many years. 16, by the way. Cholangio threw almost everything it had toward him. He fought it every step of the way without allowing it to change his upbeat attitude about life. He was level-headed and gave good advice to his fellow warriors. I looked up to Tom. I think we all did. Following, Tom's courage and humor were so fortifying and encouraging. He was very open about his own experience and was open to any questions. The one that was repeated the most, though, was he was such an inspiration. He gave so much hope to the group of cholangio patients and caregivers. Hope, support, wisdom, strength, and an example of how to persevere. Friend, mentor, cheerleader, an example of how to live and even how to die. Play on, Tom. Play on.
I think I need to take up drumming. Tom and Roxanne's family included 3 children, all of whom are here today and 2 of whom will speak. Chad Lightsky, I'm not sure where you are, Chad. Oh, great. Nice to see you. He has graciously deferred to the other 2 children, Tara McCullough Genesee and Ryan McCullough, both of whom became Tom's children after he and Roxanne married. Before we start with Tara, though, I just was wondering if we could be in.
Are you able to hear me? I'm just so very thankful for everyone spent some time preparing this, and I cut out all my jokes, so bear with me, trying to keep under the time. When my mom asked me to speak, typically I wouldn't do this. However, the fact that both Chad and I have a very memorable evening the night that Tom and my mom met, each from our Miss People jacket in that picture. So that night my mom Tom offered, instead of my mom having to wait in the line, to go use the restroom at his house across the street. And she met Chad that night, and she was a little tipsy, and so it was a very memorable evening with her saying, "See, my jacket has people on it." So Chad and I discussed that evening later when we met. So it was a very memorable evening for both of us. So we all got to know each other. So shortly after that, but my mom's wallet, the next morning, my mom's wallet was missing from her purse. And so she contacted Tom to find out if it was at his house. And Tom, of course, stepped right up to the plate and decided he was going to help her find her wallet, even though it was not at his house. And so Tom to the rescue, and that day, I think it took the weekend, right, Mom? Took the weekend to do things like go to laser light shows to Pink Floyd, and go to the beach and watch them fly electronic radio-controlled airplanes, and we did family skiing trips. And my mom really loved to plan adventures, and Tom really loved that about her. So, but that's really quick, and all of us were kind of thrown into that pretty quickly together. And but Tom was really, for me, I was like 13 when they got together, and Tom was always super gracious to me and really good to me. I also have an artistic side, and Tom's influence really nurtured that. He was one of the first things that my mom and I went to when she and Tom were first dating is that we got dressed and we went to this massive televised Calgary church to watch Tom perform the timpani drums. And I was Catholic growing up, and then, that's just a very lively environment compared to Catholic Mass. But Tom was out there smiling, boom, boom, like on the stage. And when we moved to California, he decided to give up the drums and focus on his career and his marriage and his family. And it wasn't until, I think I was probably I had moved to Kansas City and come back, but when I was around 19, my boyfriend at the time had traded a set of drums for an ounce of weed and asked Tom to teach him to play the drums. And then when he decided he didn't want to, he sold the drums to Tom. So with my mom's permission, they collaborated that the drums weren't going to take over, but Tom started back into playing the drums again. And my friend Ian's actually here tonight. When he first, a lot of my friends at that time when I was 18 were aspiring musicians, and Tom was amazing at starting to work with them and mentoring them. Good drummers are hard to come by, So his first gig after all those years was with my friends. Ian's here tonight. My other friend Jason. They had a band called the Mini Gourmet that after where we used to smoke and drink coffee and philosophize in San Jose on Moore Park and Bascom. And I was actually too young to go to the show. But that's kind of Tom earlier, and that is something that everybody, I think, needs and benefits from. And some of the stuff that I wrote all this stuff, and as people were saying stuff that I already had written, I was like, well, let's just see. Let's just kind of wing it a little bit, even though I wasn't intending to do that. One of the things I really, really appreciated about Tom is that Tom really supported my mom to be the wife, the mother, the homemaker. He supported my mom to be that what she wanted to be. And as the daughter, and I think all of us kids, like, we benefited from the fact that he was so generous, like the word that's been said many times, and that, you know, he never got in the way between my relationship with my mom. And how many people can really say that about their parents, you know? He would back her up, and sometimes he would, like, you know, give her, you know, anyway, we'll just leave it at that. But Tom was amazingly supportive. I think later on he kind of wished he would have had a little bit more of a hands-on approach, but the fact that he really did no harm in that way, like, is really saying something. He and my mom, in their years of marriage, because, you know, like I said, they got together really quickly. We all got thrown into a basket together. They did amazing work that I think really ended up, they did amazing work within their marriage, that his children and his grandchildren, he is very beloved by his grandchildren, known as as Grampy or the Grim Gramper. He was super courageous in facing all of the deadly facets of his, you know, of the deadly disease that he had, all the facets of it. He never ceased to blow my mind. His continued optimism and courageousness until the end. Let's see here. And I know that I'm taking more than probably my fair share of time, but I'm wrapping it up here. The last thing that I wanted to say about Tom is that the thing that, when I was really reflecting on Tom's generosity and the fact that he was so encouraging, is I thought, you know, as much as like Amy was telling stories about him, you know, wearing his
That was great, Tara. Ryan, I think you're up next. The third child in Tom and Roxanne's family, and he's our final featured speaker.
Hey, everybody. So I completely agree with Terry's last points. Tom absolutely had what I, in my professional opinion, to be the absolutely most virtuous qualities of a leader. His efforts were never to extend himself. He was always reaching out to enrich others. Anyway. Yeah, and he was very successful, but I think I think everyone here kind of understands that his success in life is exceeded only by his heart. So he traveled a long, difficult path. He did that with dignity and honor, and he was dedicated to everyone in his family, everyone he was involved with. I liked, as a gentleman, yeah, and I wrote the same thing with the lighthouse. You know, he was a lighthouse of hope for all of us. So, yeah, I will forever cherish the memory of Tom. I have some words from Uncle Tom. Determination, and never returned away from his fight. Even while fighting this war, Tom found time to enjoy what life had to offer. He saw the world. He played his music. He made art. And still found joy in the day-to-day beauty. I was lucky enough to be standing with Tom and Roxanne on the bank of the Snake River, just outside of Yellowstone, as the sun set a couple of years ago. Tom was having a rough time with his health, but he was happy to be there with all of us. While we were all standing there, this huge squadron of pelicans came in formation and started fishing as a pod in the river right in front of us. It's one of my favorite memories of Tom. I will always remember this along his face. Anyway, so the poem. Do not go gently into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at the close of day. Rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end know that dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning. They do not go gently into that good night. Good men, the last wave by crying bright, their frail deeds might have damning pay. Rage against the dying of the light. Thanks.
Good advice, and as you can tell, it's not easy standing up here talking about somebody that meant that much to you. But what a tribute. Thank you all. Thank you to all of the speakers. You were all amazing, and we're grateful for your stories about Tom. The music part of the program will begin shortly, so please feel free to mingle, take in the slideshow, and of course enjoy the food. And again, another big round of applause to Linda, Tommy, Sherry, and all the people that helped us do it. But anyway, see you all soon for the music. Thank you.
All right. Oh, boy, that's a bit loud. Do we want to thank Jim?